Hello, everyone. It is me, Daniel. Quick apology just before we start today's episode. My audio is balked during this episode. Not terrible, it's salvageable, but it's not the best. So, terribly sorry about that. Anyway, just to let you know, enjoy the rest of the episode.
And that's a beautiful gift for a lot of reasons. But I want to pause on that moment, John, as I say that to you and as we give grace to this generation of workers, because they now are in a world where the expectations on them are unfair. Well, welcome again, John and Daniel. It's so good to see you both. You're looking great. You're looking handsome. You're looking bright. You're looking healthy. And even if you're not, you're faking it really well. Let me say,
Thanks.
You really are.
I practice.
Yeah, you practice quite a bit. That's excellent. It's been a while since we've talked, and I've missed you.
I missed you too.
I didn't really give a shit about either of you, but we can keep doing it if you want.
You know what, John? It's that kind of honest and authenticity that's going to get you places. You're getting a promotion.
Thank you. I hoped that I would. That's why I said it. I'm very manipulative. No, it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the booth. And by the booth, I mean my office chair, but it's good to be back talking to both of you guys. It's always fun to get together and do this. And I'm excited. We're doing things a little bit different today in that everybody has some plans we're excited to share. We don't know which ones we're going to be sharing. So a little bit of a mystery box element, which is all the rage these days.
Yeah, reactionary stuff is just, oh my gosh, what? But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of idea of what we have proposed for today's episode, but only one person knows, has all the cards, has all the strategy, has all the entire outline of how this is all going to work. And that's, of course, our lovely producer, Daniel.
Yes, I do. I know everything. I am omniscient.
We should really change the point of the fucking show if we have a guy that knows everything. I feel like we could stop glossing over or just be like coy about crap and just be like, what are the lottery numbers? And just kind of lock it in.
Yes.
100%, yeah.
If you have
zero dot, we've got Daniel here. I mean,
if you have a living oracle before you.
Yeah. You know what's not useful? A dead oracle. Like, what's even the point? Like, you just look at it like, well, that would have been neat. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
For real.
Something else, which I'm happy to hear about, and hopefully Johnny's going to tell us a little bit more about. Apparently, there's a new study. We love a new study here at Zero Dots. We adore old studies too, but new studies are exciting and fresh. We have a new study that proves that viewing art is in fact good for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I need to know more about this. I mean, does it validate all my beliefs? Absolutely. But give me the data. Give me the science. What's this about?
I'm going to stick it in the chat just so you guys can have it open if you want to. The actual article itself is incredibly short. It just cites the study. As a good internet viewer, I didn't go to the study and get the actual link, but I do have this thing talking
skim
about
the title.
If you want to do the research, I encourage that and support you in doing so. The effectively, there is research by the King's College London, which, first of all, that's so regal and official sounding that they couldn't possibly lie. That's what I know. They had 50 volunteers who were sent to view an art gallery and then had their various body features measured. I regret my phrasing immediately. We'll try that again. They measured signs of stress. They were seeing how people were, and there's a 22% drop in cortisol, which is deeply associated with stress and fuckery, compared to the 8% for those of them who did not go look at the lovely art. This is one of those things that, like, we all know is like looking at art, participating in media and beautiful, wonderful things is good for you. And every once in a while, science will like stick a probe somewhere and be like, yep, turns out it's good for you. But it's nice to know that. For those of you who don't know what cortisol is, we will probably talk about it much longer at some point. But the gist of it is if it stays high for a long time, real bad stuff happens. So finding ways to take care of yourself and be healthy, you know, your classics, eat a vegetable, walk for 1 mile, pet a dog. Those are nice, and they are actually really nice. But additionally, like, there is one of like my joys as a therapist. That's what I am, by the way. Is the art side of things is as important as anything else. Like being able to participate in qualitative data as well as quantitative data, feeling stuff is really good for you, and connecting with things feels really good. So if you have an art piece that you're a big fan of, excusez-moi, if you have an art piece you're a big fan of, getting that for your home isn't just like a look at me, I have money. It's also a little bit of like, this is a kind of a self-care thing, to be honest with you. That sounds like an overstatement perhaps, but it does feel really good. Having like even just like little kitschy fun stuff that makes you feel ways still has that kind of artistic value. I don't want to offend Daniel, who is an actual like legitimate artist, but I do think that, you know, art is what you make of it, and different art hits different people differently. So finding the
Mm.
things that mean stuff to you and embracing those however you can is good for the old brain. It's a short one insofar as the goods, but it is one that I felt really excited about talking about.
It's fantastic. Personally, a little saucy there.
Close.
22% in the cortisol drop levels, folks. Cortisol is a very essential hormone that we need. We need it to live. It actually tells us our heart to like do things. It gives us like motivation and triggers adrenaline and all that stuff. Like we need it, but we don't need it for large sustained periods of time. That's not how our bodies were meant to manage it. So the fact is we live in an ecosystem sociologically, financially, work-wise that was not really designed with the human being in mind. And the fact that art plays such a huge part here is magnificent. John, as you tell me this, I had a thought.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I'm an art enjoyer. I would not say I'm an art. I am an artist, but not in the traditional sense. I'm an art enjoyer, and I've always wondered, like, why do I just like looking at art all the time? Why is it that, like, sometimes for 45 minutes, I'll scroll like Pinterest, I'll scroll like other pieces of artwork, and I just get such intense pleasure just looking at other people make art, whatever that is. And this helps put a light bulb in my head. That's so nice. That's so nice.
Mm.
It is really, it's a very fun thing that like certain things just make you feel ways, and connecting with them can like, I mean, obviously this is kind of an easier one to access as opposed to like, traditional paintings or sculptures, but like there are movies I watch because I just want to feel the thing. I've seen the movie 1,000 times. I could say the movie along with it as it goes, but you just resonate with the vibe. And that's a part of this. It does let you kind of reduce it. I'm going to go on a fun cortisol tangent. And this, I don't know how patrony this is, or it could be for you, mainstream subscriber. If Daniel has chosen it not to be, welcome, secret Patreon people. Only you know now. We'll find out what happens. A long time ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I was getting ready for this fighting game tournament, and this guy that I know named Sam was like, "Hey man, can I help you out with some stuff?" I was like, "Absolutely, you're a wizard, help me out." And he was talking about cortisol, and I think people should know this. You should just know this. And you get mad at a thing, and you get intense, and you get all heated, your cortisol goes up, and you actually perform better. That's true. So if you're mad at the video game, you actually play better. Wouldn't it be fun if the story stopped there? But it doesn't, because then there's this sudden problem where the benefit of that diminishes without really any biological outside warning that you can detect. But your subjective experience will be, wow, I got mad and I got better, and then things started to get worse because as cortisol stays in your system, you perform worse over time because you're not supposed to have it sustainably. Hence, if you are a person who plays competitive video games and you get mad at them, you do get a little bit of a fucked up accidental placebo effect that it works because you're like, well, I won that game, and then you go to hell. So if you ever had that experience, I wanted you to know why. Sam taught me this, however long ago that was, and it changed my life because now when I'm tilted, I don't play because I like to get points and not to hemorrhage them because I'm a salty boy.
Thanks for that
Thanks,
shout
Sam.
out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, I'm a big believer in knowing how your body works and how the hormones work, and being kind to yourself, and not taking false feedback loops for granted, right? And that's what that really is, the false feedback loop that, hey, I got a little bit of an improvement for this, and then it turns out I might be slowly killing myself. I didn't know that, but now that we know. So, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at length at some other time, but that's a great call out there, and thank you, John. So, excellent. All right, cool. That's fantastic. Great news. I think we can wrap up the podcast. I think we're done. I don't think there's anything else for us to talk about, right, Daniel?
That's a good one.
What do you got on our
good
agenda?
one.
I mean, as always, we have a little introduction. We talk about what's been good, and then we close the system and we just go away.
We're done. Yeah, it's a quick 11-minute podcast. Great. We want to be economical with your time for sure.
Exactly. We don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm going to take up a lot more of your time if you will let me. So after that little pick me up, kind of forming a bridge between the good and the bad. Sam.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I mean, fudge. Flip. Hey, folks. So I want to be very clear that John, myself, and Daniel's interpretation of the use of AI, or in this case, learning language models, generally is balanced. We don't think learning language models are a net negative thing. It's their use, right? And how we use them. And I'm sure we all have opinions about that. And Square Enix, they're going to be using more AI. They announced in November 6th that they're going to be using AI, generative AI, to help 70% of their QA and debugging by the end of 2027. So they have a 2-year plan to kind of use AI a bit more for their QA pipelines. Now, you might have 2 different opinions about this. The one opinion might be, and I want to give credence to this, well, you know what? QA and debugging, that's a very laborious, unhuman task. Wouldn't it be great if we could give that to an automated system and have the people that are doing that laborious task that have the skills and the trades necessary and have them work on more interesting creative projects within a small scope project and really enable and empower people? That's one way of looking at it. The pessimistic way might be that, oh my gosh, they're using AI and all this other stuff, and we don't need that. And where else is this going to spread? Well, you know what? For those of you that were thinking that maybe Square Enix is going to be using this for good and using this to empower people, literally in the same day, Square Enix announced more layoffs as part of the US and Europe restructuring across all areas of their Western businesses. So if you had any kind of credence that this was going in the direction that you wanted it to empower human beings, I might ask you to check that piece of understanding, because as we know, if a business is able to, and it's, can't be challenged in court, because as we know, AI is still such an up and coming technology. The court system hasn't caught up to just the ethics of it all. They're going to do it. And we are seeing Square Enix do that. I mean, on a video call, they literally demonstrated that there's significant layoffs are coming. Something about 140 people at total were told they were at risk in the London office alone. IT, publishing, QA, business planning, marketing, all of them are at risk, not just QA. And so a lot of things are up in the air. Now, I don't wish to cross hairs and make connections that aren't there. I'm not here to say that they're related to each other, but they were announced on the same day, or at least reported upon on the exact same day. And that's not good. Whatever your opinion of AI is, learning language models or not, whatever tools we have at our disposal, whether it's the World Wide Web, a computer, your Palm Pilot, a BlackBerry, God, take me back to BlackBerries. I miss those. Your iPhone, your Android phone, whatever. It should be serving us as human beings. And we just talked about the benefits of art and how art should be made by human beings. And it seems like there is an entity right now that is going out of its way to, well, eliminate the human element. That doesn't feel good.
That is so annoying. I feel like
because we saw it coming, right? Like it's so predictable.
Yeah.
It's incredibly predictable. I was talking with a person I know recently, and they gave me this analogy. They were like, yeah, no, it's like you're on a farm and somebody invents a plow, and you're like, holy God, that's amazing. We could turn over a field so quick. This is incredible. And then the plow guy's like, you know what else we could do? We could bring this thing into the kitchen. We could make food with it. And you're like, no, it's not ready for that. Maybe a small version to like slice dough. He's like, no. And also we could sleep on it. We could bring it into the house, get rid of beds. And we could also tell Timmy down the road to get one. And for some reason, Timmy already did. And like, it's just, stay in your lane, dog. A thing that I really do like is that there's this kind of, I hope there's a word for this. I bet the Germans came up with one because they're amazing at that.
They are.
For humans to recognize AI based on the things that it does. Y'all remember the extra finger thing? That was kind of the first one where we're like, that's a tell. It talks a certain way. You could submit papers written by AI for a while there. You can't anymore. Every professor at every college.
We are learning hey, this
is the stank of AI. And it's just like, I get emails that I can tell were written by AI. Like it's just
100%.
And that's going to get more circular with time while the AI will improve. It's just like, I do like that there's a sort of built-in biological human reaction of like, wait a minute, you're not this. You're not the thing that I am. I don't think that's great. This is a scary guy.
Yeah.
So what I also want to pivot to always with things like this is like, and this is a little bit more of a nebulous cry for action than I would prefer it to be, but I do feel like voting with your wallet is one thing. And I also feel like publicly shaming companies is another thing. And unfortunately, that's
for behaviors, right? Like
for behaviors,
for the behaviors, yeah.
For the behaviors, I'm very anti-shame as a person who cares about mental health. But I also
company
feel
isn't
like
a person. Just saying,
company's not a person. Contrary to a specific ruling once upon a time that happened in a court, no. And there is a level of people respond to backlash. So if you see this and you just care, if you want to do your retweeting or whatever the heck you want to do about it, don't be shy. But also be mindful of the quality you get with AI-made products. I know you already are, probably, if you're listening to this show, but just keep an eye out.
Yeah, and I'd also like to offer to people to, the next time you complete a video game, watch the credits to the end and just do a quick silent nod to the QA testers that made the thing the way that it was and reported the bugs. I'd also suggest on Blue Sky, there's a literal video game dev sub-thread. Is that how it is, Daniel? Are they called threads or feeds. I think they're called feeds, right?
Feeds on Blue Sky, I believe.
Feeds,
Yes.
Blue Sky. Thank you. And in that is a subdivision for QA testers, and you can listen to what they're talking about. You can pay tribute to them in that way, and just keep your ear to the ground on that front. Because, again, if I were to zoom out and I'm a person trying to maximize profits and I'm trying to make things better, I can kind of sort of see in a very corner of my eye how maybe relegating this to QA, relegating AI to QA might help. The fact is, though, we know that's not what's happening. And in addition, we know that there is a true benefit to having human beings test things, because as much as I love a good old machine, machines aren't humans, and video games are played by humans. And so only a human might do the best job it can at possibly debugging or figuring out, hey, did you know that if a player on the corner of this particular screen jumps 575 times, why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe the kid left the controller on the floor for a while and something happened. You know that it actually melts the PCU or PSU of the PlayStation motherboard and might actually be a huge issue. We should test for that. And that's what a QA tester does. They test for all that stuff and then make the experience wonderful and fantastic. So keep your ear out on that. Publicly shame the corporations that are doing these not great things. And, pay tribute. That's what I would say.
I do. And I feel like this is overkill, but, just like I want to say anyway for CYA purposes. Sam raises an excellent point. Shame corporations, not people. Don't shame devs. Devs are doing their job. They often don't want to be doing what they're doing. Exhibit A, certain companies that make games like, I don't know, Overwatch maybe comes to mind. Yeah, we'll leave that alone. But there's, we never want to be like, yeah, Zero Dot said make death threats. That's the opposite of what we're saying.
No.
What we're saying is insist on getting the products that you want and enjoy the things that are good. Help the people who make those things. It is going to be the struggle for the generations that are around right now. We get to do this little battle with AI and the people who want to use it to make them more money and give you less jobs. Which is, again, it's just such a dumb apocalypse. Anyway, I don't know.
Isn't it dumb?
I'm done talking about that.
It's predictable. It's dumb. The fact that we can all see it coming and it's slowly happening. And again, there are forces that are stopping it, but it seems like there should be more forces stopping it. That's the frustrating part. But thank you, Daniel, for letting me highlight that. I'm sorry that I had to end things on a down note. And now I think the episode's done, right? Good, bad, and that's it. We don't talk about anything else, I don't think.
Yes. No. That is it. At first. You want some more bad?
Just more bad. We just do bad.
Okay. I tell you what. If you want to feel bad,
I can't say that, we might get copyright strike.
Yes. Be very careful.
A few seconds left, I think.
Yeah, it'll be okay. If you want to feel bad, I could kind of twist my beautiful thing this week to make you feel bad. You should feel bad for all of the poor squirrels in Texas who did not win the competition that they held for the chunkiest squirrel.
Wait, what?
All those loser squirrels who did not win the title of chunkiest squirrel in Texas. So, apparently, Texas hold a competition. Everything's bigger in Texas, as they say, including the squirrels, apparently. So Texas Parks and Wildlife's inaugural Fat Squirrel Week. That's a real thing.
It's a thing.
And yes, that is indeed a real thing. Their inaugural Fat Squirrel Week. The one that won it was a squirrel named Chunkosaurus Rex.
Chunkosaurus Rex?
Chunkosaurus Rex, the squirrel. The squirrel is from Dino Valley, which is, let me have a little look, it's a state park in the Glen Rose area. And they were crowned the competition's first ever winner after a bracket-style competition using social. Yeah, they had like a full tournament of fat squirrels. Yeah. So they held a competition, which apparently I'm guessing is going to be an annual thing now because it was quite successful and people really liked it. So Chunkosaurus Rex, in order to win this competition, had to face off against such opponents as Chunk Norris from Fort Richardson State Park, Nutella from Lake Mineral Wells State Park, and Stanley the Texas Tank from Cleburne State Park. They were all eliminated in the chonky wake of Chunkosaurus Rex.
Do we have any images that we can look at?
Yes.
We'll describe them to our audio people. I don't want you to be left out, but I'm just I need to know.
But you
how
will
this
be,
works.
you pathetic listening idiots. Get some eyeballs.
Don't listen to him. Let
It's all
me
they
just
can
speak
do,
into
Sam.
your ears. You can enjoy this. Oh my God.
Damn.
Chunkosaurus Rex. Look how big that guy is. What is he eating?
Looks like waffles.
What does he eat?
With an acorn on it. The waffles have got a little acorn. This is peak graphics design is my passion, and I'm here for it. I love it. Yes, so this is Chunkosaurus Rex, and don't you think he's beautiful? He's wonderful.
He is. Are they like giving him steroids?
I would
what are the
hope
ethics
not.
of this competition? I know it's all social media based, but what are the ethics?
I believe they're au naturel. They are just naturally, as they stock up on nuts and other food for the colder months. They will naturally gain weight to make it through the winter, and I think they just thought, hey, why not have some fun with this and see if we can crown the chunkiest? And it ended up being this one. And
it's specific to Texas, right?
It's specific to Texas. Yes, it says here the contest was aimed at celebrating Texas's native rodents as they packed on the pounds for winter.
Quick plea/plug, a plague, if you will, to Guinness. Hi, it's us again. We've been thinking about things that are significant. Maybe do like a fattest bear or like a most grotesque bear, or maybe just some ideas. Also, still looking for sponsors exclusively from you. So feel free to just hit up your boys. We would be open to that.
Yeah,
most sponsored podcast. We could start with that. Go
100%.
Yes, that could be the record. Oh,
we have the most amount of sponsorships.
It all ties together. That's wonderful.
That would be fantastic. And then we could be on it. And then we could literally be, hey, the continuation of what Daniel talked about. It's us. We did it.
Yeah, we did it. In entirely unrelated news, would you like to move on to the main topic for today's show?
Before we do that, I think now would be a great time to let everyone know that, hey, if you're listening to this right now, we talked a bit more about good old Chungus over here. But you wouldn't know that unless you subscribe to our Patreon. So if you'd like to know more information about that, give us a couple bucks, support what you love about this. Go ahead and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/zero.media. And, have a good time. Be in the secret club. We love you. It'd be great if we got to know each other a little bit better. But you do you, all right?
Today, I would like you wonderful, beautiful gentlemen to speak to me and our audience about the next generation of workers and why some older generations tend to resent them, don't understand them, are afraid of them because they're spooky, scary. Ooh, and they're struggling to connect with them and to really understand them and to get past that block in their head that says that they're just lazy and stupid and they're no good because they're not necessarily doing things the way that they did it. So that's what I'd like you guys to talk about today.
Thank you, Daniel. I think that's a fantastic topic to talk about this. The next generation of workers, the newest people, the 18 to 20 somethings, the individuals that, they saw what happened in the 2010s, the 2020s, the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. They were told by their grandfathers about the 50s and 60s. They've seen picture books about World War II, but they don't even believe it might even happen. I don't know. That's what Google or Wikipedia tells them. And they are told, hey, job, money, do thing, but also less money commiserate to inflation than your prior generation. Also, pension isn't really a thing anymore. So please slave away, but we're not going to give you a gift for working for us for 30 plus years. Also, you can be replaced at any point. Also, there's this thing called AI that's out to get everyone's jobs for all kinds of things. Also, your father got laid off like 5 or 6 different times from different companies from his misplaced loyalty. But go have fun, right? That's that generation. And it's the exact same generation that, the people that are currently right now in the leadership trenches are like, how do I manage these people? How do I, they seem lazy. They seem like they don't give a shit about anything. Or shirt. They don't give a shirt about anything. They seem like they're unmotivated. They seem stupid to me. You know, when I was their age, blah, 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 blah. Some of this is the common generational gap stuff you see in every single generation, but some of it is honestly and truly, it is seismically different because of this huge amount of change that has occurred in the 5 past years we've had from 2020 onwards from the COVID. And the question is, you know, what do we do about it? How do we understand, as Daniel said, what is it that makes us afraid of them? Why do we resent them? But then more importantly, how can we utilize them and how can we empower them to let them know that there is a force out there trying to give them the right path forward so they can be successful? I'm talking about all that stuff, but John, I want to pause for your thoughts because as we talk about this, what do you think about this in your field? Because I'm coming from the place of a leadership consultant on the ground floor, talking to people every single day about what their challenges are. But what have you been seeing as someone who's been a clinical counselor for others?
I have, as I've said many a time, perhaps not on the show, but I have said it a lot. I have the best job in the world because it's kind of cheating at life. You get to know a zillion people at a relatively like intense level, and you get a lot of different takes. So I know people of different generations, and I know a lot of people entering the workforce, people who've been there for a long time. And I know there's a kind of, I'm overusing the word zeitgeist, but as a podcaster, I should.
Oh, zeitgeist is a fantastic word. One of my favorites.
It sounds fun. There's a zeitgeist among the youth of the world of work, and it's around fear. There's this. So those of you who can't see our faces, we're millennials. We look like millennials, maybe a little cuter than traditionally, but like that's kind of the thing. We grew up with
Especially
that part where
Daniel.
there was like very true, where there was no internet and then there was internet. We were like, okay, we'll adapt to this. And then things got easier in a lot of ways. They also got other things we'll talk about later, but some people who've been born with this or had this their whole lives have been accustomed to certain levels of things being a certain way. And the job market and job applications and the interview process, and I really will spend time on that, the interview process has changed a ton. And it's now a much scarier, less obvious, less honest process than it used to be. And there's a level of fear with it. I have had the distinct pleasure and joy of watching tons and tons of people I've worked with who are of the younger variety find their way into the world of work. But it does always have this sort of spelunking element of like, I don't know where I get out of this. Like I'm going down here and I hope that this works. When you go to little kid school, call it grade school maybe, primary school, you get told like, well, do you want to be a firefighter, a police person, a doctor, or a marine biologist? And as it turns out, most of us aren't those things. And kind of figuring out, well, I guess I'll be a roofing specialist for an insurance company. Like nobody picked that when they were 6,
Right.
but a lot of people I know find roles like that. And there's this piece where it's hard to translate. Also, I'm going to not keep rambling yet because I'll save my stuff for later. But there's this communication style difference with vulnerability. The younger generations are a little bit just frankly better at communicating vulnerably, which is really cool in a lot of ways. Job interviews, not vulnerable. Job interviews, very gamified in a lot of ways. Like you have to, you all know the question. And if you don't, welcome to this, where they're like, what's a weakness of yours? How would you handle the conflict between the, like, it's just, and there's ways you're supposed to answer this. It's a lot like a standardized test. And I don't know, maybe I'm more jaded than my friends here on the show, but for us, we have people come in and be like, this is how you do that. Like, don't be yourself, just play the fucking game. The new generation kind of hates the game more than we did, and we didn't like it. And the generations above us are like, that's the fucking game. Just play it. Just shut up and do it. And not in a cruel way. That's what they know. And it kind of worked for them. But also, and I don't mean to get too man yells at cloudy about this, but like the game has changed. Oh my God, the game has changed. But the game has changed. The way that money
You
works.
could say it's a game changer. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
You could. Exhibit A, and then I will shut up, I promise, is, like I have folks who are in a generation, I'd say that they're in the ages of like, your 50s or 60s, where they went to a place and they were like, all right, lock it in. And they climb a ladder and they do quite well. They make a name for themselves. They get a pension, they get retirement, they get tenure if it's one of those kind of jobs. Whereas one of my buddies, who is by far, I think, maybe my most lucrative buddy, has made a career out of going into business, and he does this company, this company, this company, this company, this company, and he's making $1 bazillion. He's never stayed at a company for more than 4 years because he's just always trying to, like, and he's doing it very well, but it is very contrary to the wisdom we were given, which has become so good at a thing that you just excel, and the system doesn't really cater to that. So I will stop talking when an actual expert is here, but I'll come back with more of this later as we go. But this is a fun topic. I'm interested to see where we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And this is what I love about having to talk about a topic and John not knowing what the topic is. because you just sparked something in my mind that I want to get to. But you've made a lot of great comments about newer generation is I think the newer generation right now, and this is a net positive overall, it is more authentic than it has ever been. They are asking the questions of why are we doing the thing that we're doing? And when we say, and when John says, this is the game, or this is just how it is, they reject that. They're like, this is stupid. This is dumb. We shouldn't be doing it that way. And I wanted to say that disruption, that disconnect, if anyone, if you are listening, if you're in the 18 to 20-year-old range, if you're 15 to like 25 right now, and if you feel that in your bones, I want you to know that I see you and I hear you, and you're not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong. It is absolutely true that we do a lot of things when it comes from getting a job to keeping a job to jumping from job to job, and it makes absolutely no sense, but that is the system, and that's how certain people have been able to be successful. You know, John speaks about the fact that there was a time when if you worked at a company and you did well and you were known as special and you worked really hard, the company would give you raises, this thing called a raise. And technically, legally, they still do. They call it a merit increase, but the merit increase isn't real because usually a merit increase is very small and it's just commensurate to what they would call a cost of living raise. And it doesn't actually, they usually have caps. Like they invent these buckets, these little, tiers that, oh, if you're already in this tier, we can't possibly give you more money than that because that would be unfair, blah, 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 blah. They've invented all of this word salad logic to cap you, to prevent you from making the money that you have. But John's colleague / client / friend is doing exactly the same thing that I recommend to a lot of people, which is sad, which is the only way to make real money is to jump from job to job. And that sucks. That sucks a lot, but it's good in terms of money because what you're basically doing is you're rebranding and reevaluating yourself every couple of years. Your company isn't making you the money, the offer that you want. And so you have to offer it to the next company, and they will because they don't see you as employee who's been with the company for 4 years. They see you as new and exciting thing, and you have all these wonderful experiences, and we can poach that from you. And this person can obviously make a big amount of money with that. And I think the current generation is learning this in that same capacity.
Just to bounce off that, this is a thing I'm thinking of. I don't know. I've decided that perhaps young people are listening to this episode, and if you are, I want to say a couple things. One, if you are like a 15-year-old, and I don't know, maybe your name is like Liam or something. Liam, I want you to know a couple things. First off, high school is weird. Junior high is weird. It gets better. I promise. I know that everybody fucking says that, but like I genuinely mean it. I've worked with a ton of people. Everyone's gone through the same fucking ride, and there's a level of like, this can't be how it is. It's not. It changes. The whole status thing changes. We'll talk about that another time. But hang in there. Actually, I'm going to save the second point for later, but the first point I do want to do now is when you are doing a job interview, you have the most leverage to negotiate money that you'll have during that particular employment. So
Yes.
that's part of why we recommend this, is because once you're in, and then what Sam talked about, the tiers that you're in, like they have numbers that they own you now, and you can kind of do their little game at the start. They don't have that yet. So being able to, and like you should take a swing and negotiate for more money out of the gate. That's actually protocol that's supposed to happen, and I encourage you to do it. A lot of people, it turns out, have anxiety about this. I know from experience, from being me, and also be working with just tons of people who apply for jobs. People get more than they expect a lot of the time, and this is your best chance. So
Yep.
Do swing for that fence. It's worth it.
Absolutely. And maybe as an extra, we'll add a little piece to the Patreon, to our Patreon folks, about a nice, fun little strategy you can do to almost guarantee you make more money than you initially thought you get an offer on. Daniel, remind me to talk about that as well if I forget. But as we talk about this, as we talk about all of this stuff, I want to gauge our conversation about how we'll have a conversation later for you are actual next generation workers and that you are the future for us. Absolutely. But I want to talk about to people right now who are managing this and who are dealing with this and going, what the fuck do I do with this? Right. And the first thing I want to just reset and calibrate our senses on is this. The newest generation of workers, when they were 8, 9, 10 years old, they had more access to more information than I have ever had in my entire life. They absorbed more information thanks to the neuroplasticity of their brain more than I ever have in my entire life. And that's because they had this tiny little supercomputer in their pocket. And John, when he says we're millennials, he's true in the sense that I remember it distinctly when I didn't have internet. When I had to go use internet, I had to go somewhere to a specific physical place, search whatever I was searching for. Remember GeoCities, remember Ask Jeeves, that kind of thing. And then when I was done searching, I walked away and I didn't have internet anymore. We have had, for almost 30 years now, access to this supercomputer in our pocket at all times. And that's a beautiful thing because My God, man, we've been able to fill the World Wide Web with all kinds of wonderful information. There's wikis, there's YouTube videos, there's how-tos, there's everything. And if you're a young person, you get to absorb all that information. And that's fantastic. If I'm an employer, I want that from you because you've got knowledge and I want that good stuff. Here's where our first disconnect comes from. Because the next generation of workers had this, they come into a brand new job in their early teens or late teens and early 20s. And what an employer or a leader or a manager sees as a deficit is actually a strength, but how it comes about is this. Because I've always had access to this little thing, if there's ever a question, anything I didn't know, I could always look it up. I have this expectation now that there's an instruction for everything. There is a way to do something. I can search something up. If I don't know how to do something, I can look up a video and someone's made a 3-hour comprehensive video and I click to the right timestamp to the thing I want and then I look up that particular video, right? And in the workplace, in many times, when you're working in specialized fields with IP, with brand, with things that isn't publicly available, what oftentimes happens, if it's not documented otherwise, to the next generation worker, they're given the task and say, okay, go do the thing. And the person goes, I don't know how. What do you mean you don't know how? Just do the thing. And to what you and I might be intuitive, might be easy to understand, even if you don't know how to do it, it seems pretty simple to do it. They go, I don't know. And then that's what happens when the leader says to me, hey, these people are dumb. They're stupid. They don't know anything. But they're not stupid, are they, John? They're brilliant. They know a flippin' lot, a fartin' lot, we'll say. They know quite a bit. It's just that when the world advanced to us having as much information as we possibly can and having cell towers that carry us almost everywhere and it keeps expanding at an alarming rate, we did not advance our processes to accommodate for that. And by processes, I mean our standard of procedure, our work instructions, the way in which we literally deploy work to other people and delegate to people, our training. We didn't adapt any of this. That model works for the kind of worker that goes, okay, here are the tools I have in front of me. I got to make that happen. I'll figure it out. And if I need help, I'll reach out to my manager, but I'll be creative and I'll figure this stuff out because that generation of workers knows what it's like to be bored. That generation of workers knows that, well, if I keep puttering at it, I'm either going to break it or something's going to happen. And as long as my manager's got my back, I'm not going to get in trouble too much. At least I don't think I am. The current generation of workers don't have that, not because it's their fault, but because they've never had to operate in a world where that was even a reality for them. And that's a beautiful gift for a lot of reasons. But I want to pause on that moment, John, as I say that to you and as we give grace to this generation of workers, because they now are in a world where the expectations on them are unfair.
This is a thing of millennial angst, and I don't want to be the trope, so I'll be the trope for 5 seconds. But for those of us born in the 80s and perhaps even the 90s, there was a very clear picture of the world we were told would happen, and it didn't happen. And the things we were told we would need to have, we don't need to have. And the things we were told were mandatory aren't mandatory. And there is a sort of angst about that. I think the generation below us, people who are entering the world of work now, in a way, despite their youth, they're a little more skeptical because they watched what happened to us. We're like, well, that's not good. And then there's a level of trying to roll with those punches. Sam, I think you hit on a really important thing. I run the risk of making this the topic of multiple shows in a row, so I'll try to keep it brief. This will come back later, so if you're interested, fucking stick around.
If you want a farm for engagement and content, we'll make this a 10-part series.
Absolutely. And that the part that I would go to right now is the good old rectangle of infinite information. My old guy story is I'm in my basement hanging with my friend, my neighbor kid, Jason, and we're listening to the radio, like just hanging out playing. I don't know what we're doing, but just some fun stuff. And the song came on and I was like, that's a good song. I wonder what it was. And it ended and I didn't know. And I was like, well, I guess I don't know. And I didn't know. And I couldn't go Google it at all. And I had to wait for it to come on again or go ask someone who might know. It was Vertical Horizon, by the way. But which is not a song I want to be associated with. So maybe we edit that part out. Anyway, it was
bleep and bleep. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you have to pay to know what that was. I think that the instant answers of this is a really big thing, but the thing that I would always really shine a light on, and especially for the ADHD homies, is that this is a dopamine generator followed by a series of asterisks, because it doesn't stay that way, but it promises you that it will. And there's a psychological inability to be bored that really, really screws with young people. I have a friend who works at a business. I'm keeping this very vague to protect him, but they were consulting with a company that makes shows. And one of the feedbacks that was given, I don't know how to talk. One of the pieces of feedback that was given was the shows that they were making weren't second screen enough. And that took me a while to understand. And if that's grimly hitting you now, let me explain. They don't want shows that are quality that you have to pay attention to. They want shows you can have on while you're on your phone, because that way they can have a show on all the time, and that gets better viewership and numbers than a show that's actually engaging. And if you're like, that seems bad, like a general decrease in quality of shows to feed our more dopamine hungry brains, you're correct. Because for the same principle of anything getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it will collapse. There's people who, and I'm among these people, so you can make fun of me too for making fun of yourself right now, who've tried to introduce third screen, who are like Nintendo Switch, phone, TV, and then your brain's like, what? What are we doing? Like, I can't, because you can't do that. Multitasking is a myth. You can shift attention really quickly, but you can't actually be engaged with things at once. But this idea of more engagement, more money has really been present, along with a lot of other stuff I'll talk about another time, including like literally just like what we're doing right now is listening to podcasts. How many people do you know, including RU1, who listens to these things during a shower? That's extremely common, as it turns out, because we have learned that sitting in a shower, standing through a shower, however you prefer to take your shower, without information coming into your head becomes unbearable. That's bad. There's a term that I would like to find a better term for, but it's like dopamine detox. And it's effectively helping your brain say, I choose to be bored. Dear ADHD homies, I know what I just said, and I'm sorry. Don't worry. It's not as bad as it sounds. But what you're effectively doing is you're resetting your tolerance so that when you enjoy these things and you get on your phone and you look at these things, you can feel good about them again. The reason I'm going into this rant so passionately is because it disproportionately affects younger generations because they haven't ever had to not do this. And they're eating the full effect of it now.
Yes.
Older generations are new to it and said with compassion and respect, don't always fully engage with social media / the interwebs at large in the same way. So when someone else is like, just, I can't, this is boring. They're just like, well, that's okay though. Like, you can just be bored a little bit. And that's the thing, is for them, it is okay because their brain doesn't go, like it doesn't get mad. Another tangent that I'm going to not even open up, but I will acknowledge briefly, is I feel like these days, as mental health awareness is more common, the homies with the autism, the ADHD, whatever else, like we mask a little bit less. I can be more of myself, which is good overall, but it's troubling when you enter a work culture based on certain norms that don't vibe with that very well. And the pressure to mask and fit in is very scary if you're young, because you're like, I don't know that I can do that. Spoiler alert, the good news is if you work for a good company and good people, you'll find a way to let your authentic self be there, but we'll get back to that later. But when you don't know that, your sample size is very small. It's like your first big kid job. There's a level of like, oh, I don't think I'm cut out for this. A lot of people I've worked with have been very hesitant to apply for jobs in like the proper like capital world of work because they're like, I can't focus that long. And spoken as a person riddled with ADHD, it is hard for me to focus that long, but you find strategies and it is doable. So I really want to plant a seed of hope for that. If this spoke to you, if you're like, no, that I get that, like, trust me, A, you're not alone. In fact, there's a shitload of us. And B, of all, we can find ways to help it out. That can be more of this episode or later, but I want to get back to Sam now because that's the end of this rant for the time being.
That was a good rant. I like it. I also want to speak to this boredom piece because I'm really fortunate in a way that I didn't think I was fortunate when I was young because I hated it. The time in which I had absolutely no internet to when I did was a very stark time. And what I mean by that is I got internet very, 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 very late in my life. And during that time, what that ended up meaning is when we were bored, which was quite often, the expectation from your family was, okay, figure that out, like deal with it, like do something, either entertain yourself or do something. And the wise words of someone whom I don't know the source tag, but I've lived my life by it is, boredom is a result of not paying attention to what you should. And oftentimes I was told, and I still repeat this to myself, whenever I'm bored, it means I'm not paying attention enough to what's in front of me. And so that's an opportunity for me to be in my surroundings. I'm not saying that resonates with anyone here on this call or anyone that's listening, but I repeat this to you. While I might have the mental stamina to be given a very vague set of instructions and just make it work and happen, and I can be creative in that, and I'm blessed with that, I am smart enough to know that I actually admire the skill of the next generation worker because they're smarter than me, because they know there's a better way to do it. While I'm so fixated on just simply getting a thing done, and it probably won't be done very well, but it'll brute force through the situation and move on. I'll do a lessons learned, recap later. The person that has the gall to say, hold on, no, I want to do this the right way. Let me network with a person who's done this before and get the instructions from them so that way I can do it. And then that person, the new generation worker, goes, oh, you have a lot of knowledge. Let me transcribe literally what you're saying so that way we have instructions for the next generation. You're the better worker than me. You're the better performer than me in that regard. And I'm here to tell you that in the leaders that I speak to, and if I'm ever able to communicate that to them, they understand that. They understand that. But right now, the gap is they believe that because their generation of life, their way of living, pre-internet, or maybe during the dawn of the internet, 1990s or so, is so starkly different than what it is today. There is a little bit of a challenge. So to my next generation workers, I say to you, give grace to the people who might be giving you a hard time and they don't mean to. But to anyone who's in the 30-something, 40-something, 50-something camp that you're listening to us, I'm here to tell you, hey, these people are brilliant. They are a superpower. They are a resource to be used. And to your question that you haven't asked yet, but it's in the top of your mind is, how do I tackle this? How do I manage this? I don't know what to do. There's a lot of things to be done, but I can tell you right now, one quick thing, one very clear thing to be done that will help a lot of people. It will help you as the leader who's trying to communicate, and it's going to help the person that's on your team that you feel is stupid, dumb, lazy, unmotivated, etc. And you will find magically a lot of that myth goes away. And it's simply this. John, I think you know this. The newest generation of workers, because of their authenticity, because of how much knowledge they have, because of everything they know, they are not going to be the kind of workers that you can just tell them what to do, say do the thing, and not give a clear why or an impact. They need to know the why more than anything else. In my generation, there were some of us like me that wanted the why, but a lot of us didn't want to know the why. I don't care. Just tell me what to do. I'll do it so I can clock out and get my paycheck and move on with my life. And I'm going to turn my brain off while I do this. Not this current generation, which is fantastic because we want their brains. Explain to them why you want to do it. Do it in painstakingly detail. And two things might occur. One, you might find out you don't even know what the why is. And that's a great opportunity to enhance a process or change up your own understanding of situation. And two, if you actually do know the why and you explain it to them, they might have a process enhancement very quickly before you even had a chance to do it, and it'll make everyone's life easier, and everyone is much happier as a result. This latest generation, you're not lazy, okay? You're not lazy. You're really smart. It's our job to tap into that, and it's our job to make sure that we give you the tools necessary to be successful. So the very first thing that I would recommend to any leader who's managing this, who's struggling with this, I would say to you, and by the way, I'm not speaking out of my butt. There's plenty of sources on this. You can read about this in all different kinds of places, from Purdue Global to WeForum to firstup.io. It's a common study throughout the board that the generational shift, especially in 2025 onwards, is significant. And if you decide to just stick your feet in the mud and say, I'm not going to do anything about it, you're going to be left in the dust very quickly. You're going to hurt the next generation. You need to do something about this. And the very first step you can do is make sure that you clearly can outline what the impact is that you're asking them to do, explain the why, and give the full rationale as to why they're doing it, and explain it in detail. And if you can't, use that as an opportunity to learn. And if you can, yes, it's going to take some time. Yes, when I give someone of the newest generation of workers some instruction, it's going to take longer than it would before. Absolutely. But that time is going to be saved much later on down the pipeline. And I'm asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to trust John as we say that to you. And I can see for those listeners here, I am able to see that John was typing furiously many notes. He has so many different thoughts. And I want to pause here while he has those thoughts to express to all of us. Again, I am the bastion of the audio people, and I want to make sure that you know that I'm on your side here. But John, you had thoughts.
Dear listeners, get bent. Turn this off right now. Viewers, don't go anywhere. We will win this war, I promise. You can see that I'm smiling. They couldn't tell. Well, I know that now, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Moving on. I wrote down a lot of things because and frankly, I confess, this part might be slightly esoteric in that it is specifically related a lot to ADHD. That said, I'm on a personal quest forever for people with ADHD to learn how their brains work, because we have to kind of retroactively do it because we were told how they work in a system that is not built for us. My dog is attacking my green screen, so if you hear that, that's what's happening. I'm not going to stop him. We'll see what happens. Anyway, he's asleep. He doesn't know that he's doing it. It's very cute. Anyway, moving on. There's this piece with, first off, especially with ADHD, but in general with this younger generation, where there is a sense that when they lack a why, there's a rage. There's a like, well, fuck that, then. I'm not going to fucking do it. And on the one hand, like, hey, all game recognized game, I see you. And on the other hand, it leads to this kind of very unfortunate standoff where you plant your feet and then the system keeps churning and you're like, oh shit, I have to do it. And then you feel weak and you feel rushed and you feel trapped. And I want to help people navigate this in a different way. Know that first off, I am one of you, not a young person. That's not relevant at all. But I do have ADHD and I have a squirrel brain. And learning how to operate that within the system actually can be very peaceful. So do have that little seed of hope growing, and I promise we'll get somewhere with it. I would talk about a couple things. First and foremost, laziness and boredom. Both of those are words that make my brain do a little move. I don't know what that move is yet, but it's an uncomfy move.
Shimmy?
Yeah, it's like a shimmy, like I kind of step back, one of those things. But I feel like these are both words that are kind of derogatory, that have been thrown out as pejorative towards people who they are seen as not doing what they should be doing. I want to talk about those things in the context of mental health. So first off, laziness. If people don't make a change that they, in theory, would benefit from making, it's because they lack the ability, the knowledge, or the will. And we're always pinging it as the will. There's this thing where we say, well, you just don't want to do it. You just don't have the gumption. You don't have the pizzazz to go do these things. When in a lot of time, it ends up being an ability thing. So there's a phrase, I took a picture of this somewhere, it's from a textbook. I will talk about this.
John, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to take this moment just to say right now on the record for Zero Dot listeners, fuck willpower.
Yeah,
that's what I have to say about that. Moving on.
Big sign off on that. Big hard agree. Willpower is a fucking word we use to shame people. It doesn't. Like, it's fucking cool to persevere through a thing. Cheers for you for doing that, people who want to do that. But it's not a metric. It's not a. We'll get more into that probably
nature always
forever.
wins. You cannot beat nature, no matter what.
No, you can't. You can't. And trying to is arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
100%.
Well, there's a phrase here. Speaking of willpower, actually a very good saying, which is it's a thing that ADHD havers and in general people with distress and anxiety have, where it's in order to focus on a task, it requires, quote, active, effortful vigilance. If you have ADHD, you may know what I'm talking about. This is a currency you spend and it hurts. The thing it depletes is your happiness. It depletes your will. And after a while, you can't fucking do it because nature's like, sorry, dog, brain juice gone. Can't do it. So when you get somebody who's not motivated to do the thing, a lot of the time it's because their brain doesn't perceive it as valuable. ADHD is widely misunderstood. One of the primary, perhaps the primary thing with ADHD is an inability to participate in sustained tasks that don't interest someone. If you want me to talk about Blanca's frame data in Street Fighter 6, which is very nerdy of you, I can tell you every single move he has and the frame data it is and what it cancels to. I can give you that property because my brain thinks that's fascinating. So opening a spreadsheet for that, going, wow, and looking through it and feeling good about it, very easy for me. Conversely, if you're like, hey, John, it's time to write a diagnostic assessment, which is very important, frankly, far more important than frame data. I'm like, that's filling in boxes with data from boxes that I don't want to do. And even though, once again, I care so much about my clients and the work that I do, my brain doesn't find that as a valuable experience. So what helped me with that as I've become better at paperwork over the course of my career is learning to associate that with my actual client, because helping me go like this protects my client from challenges with insurance payments, ensuring they get good treatment. Suddenly my brain files it a little differently. And if you can help young people do this, ADHD or not, they're able to be like, oh, I get it now. There's a reason for doing that. And as Sam was saying before, if you can't have one, it might just be red tapey, in which case you can streamline a process and be faster. And that's just a wonderful thing for everybody. The other thing I need to talk about before pivoting forward is laziness. Back to that, lacking the knowledge, the ability, or the will. If you can't initiate a task and you have ADHD, there's this often really vicious and fast shame cycle of you'll know you have to do a thing and you'll be sitting like, come on, do the thing, do the fucking thing, come on, do the thing. I have a memory of me, I was a therapist, it was my first job, and I had to do some group notes, which are easy. It's just like, this client got this out of the group. That's like literally all we had to do. And I sat there for 2 hours being like, John, start the fucking notes. And I wouldn't do it. And if you know me, I hope you don't think I'm an idiot. I don't think I'm an idiot, but I couldn't because my brain hated it. It just felt like a trap because during that time, I can't think about Blanca's frame data. I can't think about World of Warcraft arenas. I can't think about walking with my dog. I can't think about gym equipment or any of the stuff that lights my brain up. I have to just sit there and do a monotonous task. And there's a certain pain with that ADHD has, and it just makes those things feel, and it sounds crazy if you don't have this maybe, but it makes it feel scary because you feel trapped. Like you have to just sit there and not feel anything good. ADHD, part of the misunderstanding is there's a level of, I need to seek stimulation, which sounds kind of funny, admittedly, but there's a level of like, I want to just feel the exciting feeling. I want to just do that. That's a big part of this conversation. So monotonous, boring tasks that don't poke the stimulation thing, if they're so monotonous, like I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just like folding this piece of metal again and again. Cool. I can do whatever I want. No problem. I can just think about whatever. No biggie. I don't get bored doing that. But if I'm like, check spreadsheet 1, enter spreadsheet 2, move down, make size bigger, figure this thing out, consult guide to turn it this color, that hurts because now I can't have fun up here. It isn't monotonous. Or sorry, it is monotonous, but it isn't like idle. It's like an active,
Still requires
effortful
brain power.
vigilance.
You still
exactly
requires focus. Yeah.
So if you have a young person with ADHD or an old person with ADHD, making those tasks, frankly, this is a thing AI is good for, by the way, is like doing this boring shit because it's good at that. But finding ways to make those tasks either like in chunks. I have a whole thing about how to handle this that I really do want to get to, but not right now because it's not the topic of the show. But if you're a person specifically who struggled with doing tasks like this, please know that you're not broken or fucked up. This is a thing that we can learn how to do. I can't get out of doing things like this in my life. I do have to file taxes every year. I do have to do various, like vacuuming for me is one of these. I never feel like I'm done. I'm just like, it's so boring. But finding ways to recognize that boredom isn't a personal failure. It's your brain going, we require additional stimulation. And either you can seek some level of appropriate stimulation, we'll talk about sustainability with that, or you go, I won't have that now, but I will have it later and it will feel so good. The brain actually responds really well to this. The classic kid test of marshmallows, right? Like, do you want 1 now or 2 later? When you learn how to operate this system within this kind of brain, that 2 marshmallow shit hits like 20. Like, it feels amazing, but you have to follow through on it. And this is a problem with the world of work a little bit, I think, in my opinion, is that sometimes the work that you do also comes with no marshmallows. There's this idea of like participation awards, and older generations poo-poo on those a little bit. And for the record, I do think that like, you woke up today, good job. Like, there's a level of insincerity to that. But there's also a very real, like, you want the machine to like the process, reward the machine. It's just simple behaviorist conditioning, and it costs very little. So giving people a reason, an impetus to make that feel good is important. I realize now I will never stop rambling about this. I got the main points for now, so I wanted to stop.
No, it's good. I think it's good, worthwhile to remind people. I said this before. John said it. I'll keep saying it. We weren't meant to be in the system that we're in. So, for instance, when John talks about the feedback loop, the positive, like, hey, I'm getting satisfaction out of something. A majority of you that are going to get a job in the next couple of years, and those of you that have a job, it falls kind of sort of in what we might call mil-spec territory, which is you are in a very specific function doing a very specific thing, and it kind of might contribute towards the larger goal of the output of whatever, but you kind of can't figure that out, and it's nebulous and it's weird. And the human brain wasn't built to figure that out. We had better job satisfaction when there was just cobblers on the street. And yes, the output was simple, but it was just, they met the customer. They measured the customer's feet. They asked about their preferences. What kind of leather did they want? What kind of sole did they want? It took 2 weeks to make the shoe and custom make it, and they delivered it to the customer. Yes, it might not be super exciting. You're not the superhero of the story, but you got to see from beginning to end how it got delivered to the end customer. You saw the value, you saw the why, you saw the rationale. All of that was given to you, and you got to get that wonderful feedback loop every single time. Today, some of us might be able to be cobblers, custom shoe people, tailors, all that good stuff, but most of us are not going to be able to do that. So again, when John speaks about the way our brains need that positive feedback loop, dopamine or otherwise, and we're not getting it, and we're feeling frustrated and angry and angsty, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. With that said, John, you made a really great comment about being able to take a task that you maybe don't like and tweak it so you do like it, or focusing on knowing the things you like and dislike about yourself. And I'd like to segue that into what I asked Daniel to remind me of, and I remembered about interviewing. The good news about interviewing, John. I have a job, which is to teach other companies how to interview the best way possible. And there's more people like me. And if they take my workshop or my public speaking engagements, they know all kinds of wonderful things, like what questions to avoid, like some of those crappy questions you talked about that just literally made me want to die. They know how to focus the questions on behaviors. Tell me of a time when. They know how to tie that into a specific competency that they're looking for. So that way I say, hey, John, tell me of a time when you had multiple deadlines coming to you at once and you're able to deliver or not deliver, and tell me the result of that. And then the answer that you give me is a complete star, situation, task, action, and result. If you answer all the boxes, that gives me information to say, okay, in the past, you did this. He's going to have to do this in the future. That might help me out, right? We ask these behavioral-based questions because, generally speaking, The more recent and impactful the past behavior that you did is the best predictor of what your future behavior will be. People like me teach other companies to focus on that stuff and not ask the crappy questions. But even more importantly than that, if they take my extended course, we talk about motivational fit. We talk about the interviewer's job to uncover with the interviewee what they like about what they did. Hey, John, after you gave me that wonderful example, what about that, if anything, did you like or dislike? I'd love to know. And then you can tell me right there off the bat. And if that interviewer does their job, they might look at multiple candidates and go, okay, I've got candidate A, B, and C. A was a rock star. They were amazing at everything to do. They'd be great. But you know what? They kind of hated all the things that I asked them about. They hated it. They really didn't like it. I've got B candidate. Can't do the job at all. Oh gosh, that was awful. I mean, I asked them, tell me of a time when you had competing deadlines and they told me about something that happened when they were in kindergarten. I mean, come on, no, that's not going to help us out, right? But then you got C employee. Okay, they did some pretty good things. Some things were a little developmental. I didn't get a complete story here, but there was one task that they said that they got a lot of inspiration from. They loved it. They loved working in that environment, and we need someone who would love that a lot. Some of these elements are trainable. The others are not. They've got that in spades. That might be the candidate we go for. And if they get trained by me, they are taught to get the right person in the door, not the best person in the door. And I say that to give solace and comfort to everyone that is listening to this and going, doesn't interviewing suck? The people that know what they're doing, at the top of their field, they know it sucks and they want to take the onus away from you. Meaning you, if you're going for a job interview and you're feeling nervous, it's their job to make you feel comfortable. It's their job to inform you what the company culture is. It is their job to tell you what the expectations are. It is their job to take all the pressure off of you. In fact, if they take my course, they know that the very first day of training is not the first day of onboarding. It's not day number one when they get their paycheck. It's the first interview. That's when they set the expectations for everything. And if they set you up for success, you'll be on the right path. And so there are people like me all over the world teaching other companies how to do this. We've been doing this for over 50 years now, and it's growing like wildfire, and people are learning the best practices. That being said, if you're interviewing for a job right now, or you're about to, and you get unethical questions like, John, spew some bad questions you've heard in an interview. Got any in the pipeline?
I have less of a bad question and more of a bad format. I was going to talk about this later anyway. Once again, really quick disclaimer, really important to me that always I never do anything that would be any sort of HIPAA revealing stuff. So for the record, if this person is ever watching this, he will know who he is, and he's amazing, and I love him to death. But there's a guy I've been talking with a while ago, and he had a bunch of interviews, and one of them was a nightmare because they just kept trying to catch him. They kept being like, well, how would this work? Okay, but what if this happened? And he was like, I'm on trial here. He's like, I'm a high level guy. I have a significant level of achievement in this field. I'm applying for an internal position. Why are you grilling me? And he left there just angry. Like, this is bullshit. Like, do you want me to be good for you? Because I'm good. Do you want me to be like your disciplined whipping boy? Because like, fuck off. Spoiler alert, he didn't go for that position. They did reach back out to him. He's like, no, this is gross. Anything that's like prove your worth or you fail is kind of the vibe. So, jump scare questions effectively.
Yeah, that's related to like brain teasers and hypotheticals. Get the hell away from that stuff. I want to let you know that Google used to use brain teasers and they have since moved away from that. Thanks to folks like me saying, hey, that's a bad thing. Like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or, here's an impossible puzzle for you to solve. What's your response? I want to see what your logic is. That we've gotten rid of that kind of stuff. So again, I'm sorry that your colleague or your client had that experience. That sucks. It's awful. But we do what we can to say it should always be behavioral based, and tell me of a time when. Show me what you did before. There's another time for me to test your acumen and your test on a technical level, but on the behavioral level, I want to know what have you done in the past. And there are good people doing that, good companies focusing on that, good leaders doing that, and it's growing every single day.
I have two thoughts. One, I thought of more bad things that happen. Two is I want to say, Sam, that I'm glad that you and the people in your field are helping this happen, because I think A, of all, it leads to better, candidate job fit. B, of all, it leads to these processes being more actually engaging and valuable. And then also like just more human. For the record, that guy had subsequent interviews and they were good and he felt seen and things are going very well. In fact, excellent. I think they went very well. So,
I want to share what I think is one of the worst interview questions I've ever heard. So in my workshops, I ask people, hey, what are the best interview questions you've asked? What are the ones you've heard? And I've heard all kinds of horrible things. But this one really appalled me. A lady said one of the interview questions she had for a company that she ended up taking the job for, which was awful, was, would your husband approve of you traveling a lot with other men on business trips?
Okay, for the listeners, my jaw dropped during that. You do get to know that. That's fucking insane. That's fucking wild. Was this from the 1940s?
This is from not too long ago.
Okay, cool. That's okay, cool.
And
Sick.
the poor
Awesome.
thing
Love
was
that.
like, I had never had that question before, and I didn't know how to answer it, and it felt really uncomfortable. I'm like, absolutely, it was uncomfortable. It was heinous, awful. Don't ask that question. Don't even get near it. Don't even think that there's an element to that question that's nice. No, no, don't do that. Period.
Oh God.
I don't even want to
What?
explain why it's bad. It should be pretty self-evident as far as I'm aware. For our
Okay.
listeners, John is just totally without words, and that is a very rare thing.
It's true. It's true. Rare am I caught unable to ramble. Okay, weird vulnerable moment. If you are a person who's watching this show or listening to this show, and you're like, I've been kind of buying that, and okay, dokie, I'm listening in. And we get to this part where Sam brings up this question, and you, in good faith, are like, I don't understand. Why is that a bad thing? I actually do want you to know, and I don't want you to feel ashamed for not knowing. And we'll write in, let us know, send us a fucking personal message. We'll respond to you in a non-shaming way, in a non-public way if you want, because I do want people to understand. It is a kind of a little bit to explain right now. I don't take a whole lot of the show doing it, but like in general with our work here, if you ever are like, if we gloss over something and you're curious about it, there are no dumb questions. So please, sincerely, like, what I would say though is that at first pass, that question is really like, it's diminishing the value of the person pretty much instantly. And it's also implying some weird gender dynamic shit that we can get into if you want to at another time. But gross, terrible, and stupid. Awful. Yeah. Ooh.
Again, while I have my clear opinion on that particular question, if you are confused, questioning anything, or you want to ask a question in a non-shameful way, we do have a website called the Zero Dot Podcast where you can go ahead and drop in your questions, your comments, just anything in general. Feel free. It does require your email address, but if you don't want to include a name, you don't have to. We will make it anonymous in that capacity. Any and all questions you ask, we'll be happy to answer in whatever capacity we can, in whatever shape we do. Because again, we're shooting from the hip here, but we're also speaking from experience. But the most important thing for us here at Zero Dot is that we are making something that's useful and helpful for you. So please go to zerodotpodcast.com, drop us a line, and we'll be happy to address it in the most safe and balanced way that we possibly can. Also, send us other states that you think have really great fat squirrel competitions. We'd love to know more about that.
I did want to say really quickly that perhaps if you're new to the show, you can tell that there's a slight leftist bent. There's a little bit of a progressive element here. That doesn't mean that's the people we want to talk to. The main point of this show is we're on Team Human. We want people to get along with each other. Obviously, there's a lot of conflict in certain parts of the world, including our very own country here in the United States for two of us out of the three. And part of why we want to do this is to help people remember that we're a team, like we're homies all together. And if you disagree with me, I'm okay with that. I still want to respect you and love you and care about you. I want us to get on the same page. That I don't want this to be a show where we shit on people or shit on things. I don't want to do that. Well, maybe like a couple of like evil corporate things, but not you, not the humans who are like just trying to fucking make a paycheck and like live. So
100%.
So if you feel offended by shit, like obviously we're going to talk how we talk, but it's okay to tell us like that kind of sucked. Or if you feel ways, we want to have a dialogue and support you and like let you be part of it because this is for everybody. That's our hope.
Yep.
That's our hope.
Yeah, that's a great comment, John. And just to remind everyone, John and I both have the incredible luxury, I call it a luxury, to talk to all different kinds of people from all different kinds of backgrounds. And while we might have our own opinions and viewings on things, the truth is, more times than not, John and I have experienced the fact that even if we do have different opinions, we are human, and we all, on a basic, fundamental, core level, want all of the same things. So again, if our messaging is off, if we're not saying the things that resonates with you, if you're concerned about anything, or if you want to poke at us and say, hey, I have a different take, more than happy, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you.
Following up on that, just a fun little bit that I think people should know. I don't know where this fits in with our whole cohesive message here, but I just want to talk about therapists in general. There's a lot of misunderstanding what therapists do. I don't tell you how to live the life I think you should live. That would be pretentious and it would make me a coach of some sort. And if I had an expertise of some sort, I could do that. My expertise is helping you figure out what works for you and helping you fight the symptoms of mental health and establish a treatment plan against that. At no point should a therapist direct you to do things. They can offer things, they can guide you to stuff, they can give you questions to think about, they can offer a concern. If you're like, I'm going to go shoot some people, we have to actually do a lot of very specific things immediately. But if it's not a like threat to others, our job is only really to just help you find your answer. And it's a process that I, as an anti-therapist, when I was not a therapist, was like, that's fucking stupid. But it is really helpful in a way that I do want people to understand. And if you're curious about it, I advise you to take a shot. Anyway, thanks for listening to our PSAs. They come from a place of love, I promise. I have 2 things that I really do want to talk about. 2.5. Okay. So as we're talking about a couple of things, there's a few like round out points that I wanted to make as we're going. The job process, especially for people who are new to seeking a professional level job or any job, can be daunting. And there's often hoops that when you don't know because your sample size is small, you're like, is this how this works? And it's okay to learn as you go. You kind of have to. But also I want to validate, like, if you have experience here or there that is bad, that's okay. So I am a therapist, as I mentioned before, and I had a really fun time applying for jobs. I live in Minnesota now. I've been here for a few years. And when I applied to jobs up here, what a hoot that was for me, because I'm at a place in my career where I'm pretty good at stuff. And I had all these interviews, and I think every interview I had came with a job offer. But there was one place I applied to, and I won't name them. But if they know that this and they watch this, you can know that I have a certain level of ire towards you. They had a really great looking company on paper. I really love their values, their vibe, etc. I applied to their job on Indeed, and the first thing they did, and I applied admittedly because I'm a little ADHD weird boy at like 1 a.m. And they said, hey, great, thanks for applying. Please click this to go to the next page. I was like, okay. And the next page was logic puzzles. It was rotating blocks, which A of all, some would say has a certain level of discrimination built into it, even if I was good at it, which I am. It's just sort of like, you know that I talk for a living, right? Like, I don't do a lot of block rotation. And I don't know if this was their like, well, the good candidates will do it. But it's one like they just didn't reach out to me. So maybe I'm hideously bad at moving blocks, which actually is a very fun story, and that's my new narrative. But I also just remember being like, damn, for as professional and legit as you are, what a weird thing to make therapists do. That's real strange. So that made me feel real bad at the time. It was the first one I applied to. I was like, oh, am I screwed? No, there's going to be hoops like that. There's a few points I wanted to address. Once again, I'm speaking to my neurodiverse homies out there. Sam said a thing earlier that was really smart, and I believe it was STAR. I believe it's situation, task, action, result. This is an interview format. You answer questions in a way that shows that you know what you're doing. If you are me, or an angsty little person, youth, child, adult, whatever you want to be, there's a certain insincerity, like disingenuous grossness to acronyms. You're like, oh my God, this is a thing that I have to do that's stupid and bad. Let me tell you some stuff. My promise to you here at Zero Dot, and my promise to you professionally and personally is I'm never going to tell you to do shit I don't think is useful. I'm never going to do that. And this is one of those things that I have like this phrase that I use when I'm doing my job, which is like embrace the cheese. Like sometimes if you can do this, it helps it feel better. And I'm not saying that from like a jaded perspective. I'm saying that frankly from a neurodiverse perspective because it feels very, frankly, masturbatory. It feels very arbitrary. Just like, just do these things. It's a format that helps you get what you want. If you're playing a video game and you need the ruby key, the sapphire key, and the emerald key, and you're just like, I don't want to get all those keys, well, then you won't do the dungeon, big dog. So like finding ways to view this as a, and also for those of us who are neurodiverse, as you maybe have noticed, I get a little ranty sometimes, which is both fun and also not conducive to a clear, direct point, which is the typical format of interviews. So having a kind of a flow to this is really important. Also, you don't have to be like, situation, this, I will do these things in this time, task. Like it can be conversational, just having like the bullet points in your head, really helpful. One other point I wanted to make today, and this is a specific call out to the homies with anxiety, which frankly, how do you not have anxiety when you're looking at this? Anxiety, as a reminder, and I'll say this later if I get the chance, anxiety is a physiological response to a stressor that is not present. That doesn't mean the stressor is invalid. For instance, if you have a fear of tigers, and I'm like, think about a tiger, and you're going, ah, that is a little bit exaggerated because unless you're thinking about a tiger because while I said that a tiger burst through the wall, Kool-Aid Man style, there's no tiger present. You're actually totally safe. But your body goes, ooh. The tiger example is a little bit silly. It's a little bit easier to conjure this for some people with thoughts about like planes, or for me, being in a cave, trapped, shoulders down, stuck, and I can't move backwards. I can feel my chest like, ooh, want to talk about that? Once again, I am perfectly safe. I'm on the second floor of a building in Minnesota. There's plenty of room to maneuver. I'm not stuck at all. But my body went, that would be so bad. And the reason I bring this up is because job interviews for people with anxiety have this really weird thing where the actual job interview is you talk to a person like this through a screen, or you go into a room and they sit down, and maybe there's a couple of them. But it's just talking. Unless you are, I don't know, hilariously dangerously bad, like you go in covered in bombs and threaten everybody, you'll be fine. Like nothing dies. But the amygdala, because it's built the way that it is, goes, hey bud. And you're like, what are you doing, amygdala? And it's like, just so you know, just wanted to just slide you this little memo. If we do really bad at this, we don't get any money. And you're like, well, yeah, we could do another one. He's like, yeah, but what if you do bad at that one as well? Because if you keep doing bad at them, we'll die. We'll die for fucking sure. And the people that need us will die. And we'll never get to play video games again. And we'll never feel good again. And then it just kind of spins. And then your heart starts up and you feel really scared. And there's this thing where you'll go to people who love you and who care. And you'll say, I'm really scared about this interview. What if I don't get it? Da, 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 da. Because you're anxious and you're activated. And that's okay. And they go, don't worry about it. And that's really difficult because your body's like, we're going to die. And it's very hard to disregard that. So what I want to offer you is a skill. Some would call it a recipe from the Electric Meat Cookbook. And it's called cognitive diffusion. I may have brought this up before. I don't care. It's worth talking about all the time. Cognitive diffusion isn't diffusion. It's taking two things that are fused, popping them apart. In the case with this, we're going to go, I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that I'm in danger. I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that if I don't do this well, I won't be okay. And you get to break that down and examine it for veracity and exaggeration. Is it true? If it is true, is it a little bit exaggerated? And in the case of this, it is actually true. If you're so bad at getting jobs, you will eventually die. That said, in the 14-ish years I've been a therapist, I've had 0 clients die from not getting a job. It doesn't really happen that much. People often take a job they don't want for a while. They have to kind of pop around different industries. They may have to get resources or extra help, but I've just literally never seen a person die to this. And that's not to say that it can't happen. That's to say that this is like a big moment for me. I really want this to make sense. So if it doesn't, let me know, honestly. Just because your body feels afraid and just because the thing is a real thing that could harm you, that doesn't make it a legitimate thing to worry about. You can't teach the amygdala that with information. It can only learn from experience. So there's a self-healing built into sustainably applying for jobs and participating in the system. I've had 3 career level jobs and a bunch of little shitter jobs that were just making some extra money on the weekend. I've done this enough that my brain isn't afraid of it anymore. But for people who are new to applying to career level jobs, this is genuinely terrifying because the amygdala does the whole money equals food equals death, and it gets really scary. So you can do a little test. I can't believe I haven't talked about this before. Have I talked about this before? This is so important. This is my favorite thing. It's called the Billy test. So Billy is just a person you know. Spoiler alert, Billy's a stand-in for you. Billy's a friend, and you go, oh man, this thing is really scary. Would I recommend Billy does it? And if it's like, hey, Billy, go put on brass knuckles and fight a guy at a bar, you'd be like, don't, Billy, that's a fucking terrible idea. You'll die. Don't do that. But if it's like, Billy, go apply for a job. Well, absolutely. Billy, totally apply for a job. Because fun fact, the amygdala doesn't fire off for others. It fires off for you. There's kind of an exception if you have a kid or something. But there's a level of, in general, if you can go, this is scary. It isn't okay. What am I doing? This is too much pressure. I can't afford to fail. This, blah, 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 like that whole anxiety thing. If you can go, oh, I'm under the influence of anxiety. I'm activated. My brain's associating this with death. You can help calm your system down and then, use the Billy test. Say, is this the thing that I recommend people do? It is hard. And there are insincere feeling steps, but also this isn't you playing the game. This is you finding your way towards what you want. We can talk about this all the time you want. We can come back to this, but the process is activating. It's not dangerous. And as you learn to recognize and separate anxiety out from actual danger, which is fucking hard to defend you, a person who has anxiety and me, you begin to be like, oh, you're that thing though. And it doesn't have the same potency. Thanks for listening. Sorry, that was a long one.
No, John, I want to add to that. What you're talking about is something we call self-efficacy. And it's literally the trust in your future self. And you only get that from experience. You don't get that from knowledge. You don't get that from me telling you you're going to be fine. You only get it from giving yourself permission to be in positions where there's a little bit of risk. And the first time's going to be spicy. I'm sorry, I can't take that part away from you. But after time 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you've done enough times, you go, oh, I made it out alive. I was okay. I didn't die. All that other stuff. So yeah, that's a really, really powerful tool, John, and it's a great reminder to everyone else about that particular concept.
While I do, I don't know if I've shilled enough what a big optimism fan I am. I want to do a little optimism shilling on this too, because what Sam said is absolutely correct. I agree with everything you said. Turns out,
100%.
there's 100%. There's a
We did that
there's
just for
a
Daniel. Just for Daniel.
indeed. There's a level of um macro self-efficacy, we'll call it, that as you learn to take on challenges and as your brain goes, taking on challenges unto itself is a thing that I can do. Your body, and this is a thing that I've experienced, and you should know that out of the box, I'm like a deeply anxious man. Like I was shy for decades because I was like, I'm a weird guy, no one will like me. That turns out to be wrong. But I had to just kind of get the experience. And at this point, I like to do things that make me a little scared. Like I had to go drive to an airport. Turns out the people there are batshit insane, but it's kind of fun to be like, well, that's scary, and I want to do it. And as you learn to do that, anxiety itself as a phenomenon loses a lot of power because you're like an opportunity to be awesome. It's like, sorry for the big nerd that I am, but Dark Souls bosses, when you go in there, you're like, well, let's fucking see what you can do, big guy. And if you lose, you're like, all right, here I come again. That's the joy of Dark Souls. People who are like, I have to beat it or I'm bad. Nah, it's a stupid way to play that game. And frankly, it's an unfair way to live life. So if this is hard now, as Sam was saying, love you, sorry, it is. It's brave of you to do it. And as you do it more, it will get less hard. The weight never gets lighter, you get stronger.
100%. I want to offer one more note of comfort for those that are stepping into the foray of interviewing. If the people interviewing you have been taught by me and other people like me, they know the following things. It is their job to make you feel comfortable. It is their job to get the information from you that they need. It is their job. Legally, they cannot do this. They cannot put any comments in the margins that say you were sweating your palms. They can't say that it took you a while to get your answers out. They can't comment at all on the way in which you delivered your information, because what they're supposed to know is this, and we teach them this. No one went to school and got a bachelor's degree in interviewing. Not a single person said, I'm going to spend 4 years, 6 years, 8 years of my life, I got a PhD, to be a master interviewee. If you interview me, I'm the best at delivering answers. No, no one did. Your job is to be an expert in whatever field that you interested you, or that you thought would be a good, what you thought would be good for society. That's your job. My job as the interviewer, who I might be the expert interviewing, is to take the burden away from you as the interviewee and extract the information I need from you so that way we both can make an informed decision. And I share this as comfort for this reason. If you're interviewing for jobs and you don't get jobs, yeah, you can be upset about that, and I've been upset too. But let me tell you, the jobs that you do get are going to see past all of that. They're going to see past everything. It won't have mattered if you said the answer wrong, because the STAR format, yes, it's a scary acronym, but really it's just beginning, middle, and end of a story, right? They'll see through all of it and they'll go, and I'm going to use a curse now, fuck, John, I want that guy. I see what he does. I see what he brings to the table. I've seen what he's doing. I even see where he's headed. We want that on our team. And when you have someone who's on the other side of that table interviewing you and giving you the job because they see you, it's the best feeling ever. It really is. And I'm here to tell you there are people out there that do that. So the only thing I'd say to anyone who's feeling a little disenfranchised, keep trying. They are out there.
I do want to say it because that what you just said hit me right in the heart. When I left my first therapist job, it was not a particularly golden resume, and there's a man out there who I believe is working somewhere in a very advanced professional capacity in like the Las Vegas area. His name's David Ventrelli, Dr. David Ventrelli. He took a shot on me when I was nobody, and he said almost exactly that to me. He was like, yeah, your resume is not that impressive, but I can tell you have a lot to offer. And I worked my ass off for that man. I to this day, I get a little emotional talking about him. He was a wonderful guy. He helped me so much. And David, I love you. So Sam's exactly right. Find those people. It's worth the wait. Also, bonus thing, real quick, real fast, so incredibly quick. You can't believe how fast this is. The current interview process, they're saying things along the lines of like, you have to apply to 100 jobs. Now, if you have ADHD, you did just shit yourself. And I'm sorry for like the lack of warning on that. And it is a terrifying thing. Good news. A, and it's usually exaggerated. B, the reason I want to bring it up is because brains love demonstrable progress. We like achievements in video games. It's like, you walked 85 steps. And you're like, haha, I did. And in this, there's no achievement. And worse, there's no feedback. A lot of the jobs you'll apply to will never talk to you. And that is rude. But also, it's kind of how this works right now. So finding alternate ways to help yourself track this, as simple as like the classic gold star chart of like, I did 3 of these today. Nice job. Going to a friend, doing whatever else. Make it a way of measurable, like I'm doing things that isn't I got the job, because otherwise you're like 0.0000001. That's not fair. Your brain needs more than that. That is a part of the system that is unjust. And I want to help people be protected against the inherent narrative that comes with that, which is I'm actively failing. That is not true. It's the pull-up thing, right? So this is 0 pull-ups, 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 1. This is so different than this. This is a completely different strength level than that. That's what this is. It's okay that it's scary. You're not broken. You will find something. I know that it's hard, and I'm sorry that it is. But like we did it. So
And that's why you're a 0 doubter.
hell yeah.
You will succeed and shine when the chips are down.